Okay, so tonight we are going to be doing a meditative painting, sort of similar to a mandala or a kind of like a doodle painting. What we're going to do first is we're going to find the center of your canvas, and one way that I find the center of my canvas is by creating an X. And you can use this with any light paint. You could do yellow or a light pink, something like that. You can also do this with a pencil or a China pen if you'd like. So the choice is yours as far as how you'd want to do it. So I'm kind of trying to figure out if that was really the center. And then from there, you're going to put in some guidelines. So I'm dipping my brush in the paint and just trying to find myself some guidelines. With this, I'm going to be painting in some of the background, and I'm going to try to make it as balanced as possible. So during this painting, think about balance. Whatever you do to one side, you want to do to the other. You will have radial symmetry, meaning if you turn it around, it should feel like it has some of the same amount of weight on each side. So I did I painted it in the right hand corner. Now I'm doing the left hand corner. And I'm going to do opposite. I'm going to use my handy little sponge brush. If you need a pause at any point, go ahead and pause. This might be a good point to pause so that you can catch up to what I'm doing. And it doesn't have to look exactly clean at this point. My meditative painting in the end is kind of still painterly. But the reason why I did it was to show another way of painting and a way to experiment with paint, but in an orderly fashion. So you can see I'm using red, yellow, and blue for this. It's pretty balanced. And then I added a little bit of white to the colors that I had in my sponge brush already, so it's kind of almost like a gray. So if I flip this canvas around, it will feel balanced on every section. It will look a little bit different when I flip it, but still it gives that sense of feeling of being balanced. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm creating some guidelines for myself to figure out what I'm going to be painting in each section. You don't have to make a square. You can make circles, you can make triangles, whatever you feel like. I made squares just to make it easy on myself to demonstrate what I'm trying to talk about. From there, you can start painting in designs if you want to. So I started painting a flower. But in the end, I started adding more guidelines to help section out the paint, each painting section where I wanted to paint. So I'm putting dots to make sure that I'm putting lines in the center of each one of the lines. So I wanted to make a triangle shape that went right into the center, and I made a mistake there, but I fixed it. And being acrylic, you can fix your mistakes at any point. Just let it dry. I'm still doing it kind of like wet into wet right now, so some of the paint that I've already laid down is still coming back up. I'm adding some more guidelines. And now I'm going to start adding the lines again, connecting those dots. So in each one of these sections, I can paint something different, or I can paint and make a whole different shape. This meditative painting, like I said, does not look like the same all the way around, but you can definitely make it look like it's the same completely all the way around. Remember, on all these paintings, I'm using 6x6 inch canvases. You can go larger or smaller if you wish. I'm using a kind of like a medium size brush right now. I'm going to go even smaller when I get to the tinier details. A lot of the design that I've made is pretty linear, so if you'd like to make some curves in there or even circle shapes, by all means, it's your meditative painting and you get to decide what you'd want to do. From there, you get to start painting in your piece. And you can also put in any other designs or shapes as you wish. So all I would love for you to do right now is just watch what I'm doing and see what I'm doing that you want to incorporate into your piece. And you can use what I'm doing, or you can change it. So I'm just trying to keep it balanced. So I'm going to be using a deep violet red for this next part, where it's contrasting to what I've already done, but you see that I'm not keeping my color in one spot. I'm putting it all over. So I want you to think about that when you are painting. So I'm going to be painting in this one shape, then I'm going to go to another spot where I put that color, paint in another shape, so forth and so on. And some of the shapes I want to take two shapes and fill them in with that same color. So that's something that you can do throughout your piece. Now that I have that color, I'm going to go in with another color. I'm going to use a bigger brush so I can get more paint down a little bit faster. And I'm going to do a similar thing, filling in shapes that are in similar areas, but I'm not going to fill it in completely the same, but I'm keeping it balanced. I'm going to mix these two colors to get a really deep purple or violet. And I'm going to start filling in some more spaces while keeping my composition balanced. Still using like a medium-sized square brush for this, but you can fill it in with whatever brush you'd like. If you want to start with your smaller brush now, you can. Your detailing brush, you can. Now I'm going to go in light with the light purple, so I dipped that same brush in that had the violet in the brush already, and I added some white. So I'm still extending that color. Right now I'm going to be refining some of these lines with my medium round brush that I was using. So that, again, this isn't the smallest brush I'm going to be using. Just filling in some spots, trying to figure out what I'm going to do in the end. Made a few mistakes, but I'm going to be fixing them as I go. It's part of the process of being present and looking at your piece, fixing your mistakes as you go, waiting for your mistakes to dry and then fixing them later. I'm also going to be adding a few different patterns into some of the shapes. So I'm going to be filling some of them in, and then I'm going to create some patterns. So we'll see that soon. Okay, so now I'm refining some of my line work, and when I'm doing this, I need to change the canvas, turning it around. And the reason why I'm turning it around is because when you're painting, you should always be pulling a brush. And sometimes if I put my hand in front of the camera to pull, you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm refining and turning the canvas using different colors. I'll use blues to refine the lines. I'll use violets. So I'm going to start by painting the inside of the flower first, but I'm also thinking about the negative space that goes around the flower. And I'm flipping the canvas as I need to. Now I'm going to be adding in way more details. I'm going to be adding some patterns. And I'm also going in and creating some line work into some of the shapes that I've created. So it wasn't as resolved and tight lined as, let's say, a mandala would, or some kind of Zen doodle that you would do. What I did was I went in and played around with that idea of just making it painterly, and maybe even thinking about it as a painting within each shape. This piece does not have to be done in one sitting. You can make your shapes, and then each day you can come to it and paint a few things, come back the next day, a few more things. And this painting probably could even last an entire month if you wish, if it's small. If it's really, really large, then maybe it could even last an entire year. But the choice is yours and the way that you want to use this idea into your own painting. I'm using dots, stipples, lines. You can use other patterns. You can figure out other ways in order to make patterns with brushes or other tools out there. Right there, you can see that I'm playing around with the line work in that one shape. Kind of like an aquatic line work. Maybe each one of these shapes has some sort of meaning to yourself and an aspect of your life. Maybe the colors signify some part of your life. Taking ideas from artists and making them your own is perfectly awesome. And that's something that I would love for you to do. I took this idea from mandalas and Zentangles, and I made this so that students could be able to play around with painting style and eye-hand coordination and the way seeing what colors look like next to each other. So use this as a tool for whatever you need at this moment in time. I'm just going to keep adding more and more design work to this piece as I go. Please enjoy and just watch for a few minutes, and then you will see the final resolved piece in a well-lit area. But I would love to see what you do with your paintings and how you take your painting and this idea of my painting and how you change it to fit what you need at this moment in time. I'm nearing the end of my video and the painting that I've created. At any moment you're willing to share your pieces, I would love to see them. If you could post and tag me in Facebook or Instagram under Lura Studio Art, that'd be awesome. Have a wonderful time. Hope to see your painting.